Joker Killer Smile issue 1. Jeff Lemire writing with Andrea Sorrentino on the art. So
Yeah. Just on that as well, before we even go any further, Jordi Belaire's on colours, which I thought was interesting because I know Sorrentino, when it usually colors the first issue of something that he does himself. I know you've spoken about this before. He likes to set the palette himself and then hand it off to his whoever the colorist is going to be, so that they completely understand what he wants. So I think it's really interesting that he obviously trusts Belair enough to go, hey, no, you got this. You know what you're doing with it.
yeah, so I was curious. Obviously, we like Jeff Lemire a lot, and I was curious to see what this would be exactly, especially since we've got Harleen, which is obviously more focused on Harley, but it's definitely got some similar beats in the sense that it's Joker inside a cell, because this is very, it's a psychiatrist coming to talk to Joker, which is a lot of what Harleen is. So
Yeah,
very interested to see how this was going to separate itself and how it's going to feel. Obviously, the art's fantastic. I mean, I barely have to even
it's Sorrentino. It's always fantastic.
mention that. We have this great visual of all these purple and green balloons over the city, which release a gas, and Joker's talking about everyone laughing and the happiness and the true beauty, and whether or not he's an artist and all the rest of it.
That panel of him kind of waltzing through with his arms out with all the bodies on the ground is phenomenal.
Very, 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 very nice. And we see, yeah, we see. Honestly, the only thing I might not like about the art is how Sorrentino draws Batman's head. That's the only thing I think I might not like.
I can see that. I get what you're coming from.
But no, all the stuff's good. The expressions, we've got this, Silence of the Lambs set up. We've got the glass, and it's just Joker sitting down talking to this new character, this therapist, by the name of Ben. What was it? Ben Arnell. That was his name. And he's got a couple of weeks. He wants his superior to let him have as much time as possible, but he's like, no, and I like this. It almost feels like this is post Harley in the sense like, no, I have lost too many psychiatrists to this maniac. You're getting 2 weeks, and then no matter what, you're getting pulled out, because any longer than that, you're probably going to go insane. Like, that's
pretty much
basically our attitude, and I think that's perfect because he's the Joker.
And she cracks an incredible joke about Woodrue, which honestly made me laugh.
It did make me laugh because I actually wasn't sure if they were talking about that Woodrue at first until she did the punchline, and I went, "Oh, they are. She is talking about Floronic Man." All right. Yes, the joke for anyone who wants to hear it. Here's the next page. So, hey, did you hear what Woodrue said to the guards last night? And it's set up like it's not a joke because it sounds like she's talking in context of Arkham Asylum, and he's like, "No, what? He didn't say anything. That guy's an effing vegetable." Oh, it was good. Anyway, so he drives home, and we meet this guy's family. He's got a wife, and he's got a daughter. Again, the expressions are fantastic. They have this dinner. These kids showing him a drawing. It's all very heartwarming. It's a very quick read, by the way, because it wasn't overly narrated or anything like that.
And it's a little bit longer than a normal issue, but it's not crazy long.
It probably read just as quick, if not quicker, than a normal issue because it was so light on text.
Yeah, but that's because obviously Lemire and Sorrentino have worked together a lot over years at this point. They have a great relationship, and obviously Lemire trusts Sorrentino to tell a lot of this story visually.
So the first kind of like troubling sign is that he's reading his kid. Ben's reading his kid this storybook, and it's about this Happyville, this community of little bunny rabbits and bears and whatever. And Mr. Smiles shows up, and it's basically a clown with a chainsaw. And
I want to say this at this point cuts to an actual like storybook, like kids storybook.
Yeah, for one page it does. Well, technically two. It's a 2-page layout, but like
and it just cuts as if you're reading a children's storybook. It's with the big picture, big font text, and it has its own numbering on the pages. It's kind of great that it cuts to this. And
it comes back to like him, and he's like, "Wait, why are we reading this one? Where did this come from?" And the kid's like, "You got it for me, Dad." And he's like, "I did." And he's like, "Oh, that's weird." And he tries to read more of it, and he's like, "You know what?" He
thumbs through a couple of the next pages and sees the chainsaw decapitating them.
Yeah, and he's like, "You know what? No, that's it for tonight. Go to bed." And his wife is concerned that he's doing this work with these criminals, with Joker. He's like, can't you just go back to being like a therapist? And he's like, look, I've got 2 weeks. I'll try and do what I'm doing. Because another big thing is like he was questioned like is he doing this because of his ego, because he wants to like write a book or whatever, which is actually one of the plot beats that's brought up in Harleen as well.
Yeah.
And he's always, no, you're doing this because you're a good person and you actually think you can achieve something and do some good. And he's like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, coloring here is great. I love when they turn off the light. It goes from being, you know, a tan hue to like the blue, you know, moonlight kind of hue.
Yeah. And then cut to black at the bottom.
Yes. And then, yeah, so he wakes up and you have this kind of weird.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a sleepwalking thing. You're not sure how awake he is because there's this red balloon that pops into like a Rorschach test. And then when he gets up, there is this red aura around him.
And he gets up, and everything else is obviously tinted the sort of the blue for nighttime. And he's walking around. He goes downstairs. The panels kind of fall away as he's going down the stairs, which is a really nice effect.
It's super trippy, isn't it?
Yeah. And then she's like on the stairs. His wife, that is. He's like, Ben, what are you doing down here? And he's down there and turns on the light. He's like, oh, nothing. I guess I'll go back to sleep. And she's like, sleep? Go back to sleep. It's 8. It's time to go. Get dressed for work. You're gonna be late.
Yeah. And just before he wakes up, he's going towards the door, and everything's black except him, which has this kind of red with a purplish tint glow around him, and this door is bright green. So it's obviously all these Joker colors.
Yeah.
And what I realized was when she turns the light on and you see the door, it is still green. It's this very pale green. So it's just really heightened in this dreamlike state.
Yeah, so basically he's lost time. Something's happened to him, and it's basically because this story, what I'm really getting it's about is about Joker affecting this guy and how trying to connect and understand to him is just a path to madness, and you know it very much feels like that. You know, and then Joker's telling a story about, you know, killer fish or whatever he's done, and it's some great art here again. He's got a crowbar and we see the fish all Jokerized and all the rest of it. And he's asking us, and then Joker starts talking about Happyville. He starts talking about the story that he was reading to his kid the night before.
And he's like, oh, and and everything was great until Mr. Smiles came to town. I think he's actually just quoting the story. If you
it's directly. Yeah, I think it's the exact lines. And he so Ben throws down his chair and runs out, obviously worried that something's happened at his house. Or no, he runs to the bathroom. Sorry.
He was just like, hey, something's not right. He's not sure if he's imagined this or if how's Joker know about this.
And Joker laughing as well at the top of his lungs as he's running away in fear is pretty great. But
it's terrifying.
He's in the bathroom and he actually, again, he sees this vision where he sees blood on the cubicle door, and he opens the door and he sees a corpse, this Jokerized corpse with blood coming from its throat, and then ha 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 written on the walls in blood. It's super dark, and it goes to that harsh red against the white background kind of.
And Sorrentino loves doing this effect. He pulls it off fantastic.
But then he snaps to reality, he sees his hands, and the guy's alive, and he's like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, sorry. And he's clearly just opened this cubicle and this guy who's been in there, and the guy's like, what are you doing? And he's on the floor sort of rubbing his eyes.
I'm going to say the guy probably should have locked the damn door, but whatever.
Yeah. That's a plot hole, I guess. Most people lock the cubicle when they're in there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just end Joker's drawing Mr. Smiles on his wall, this character from the book. And he's just, we hear sort of the end of the Mr. Smiles story, or at least part of it. And it tells a story of this little, what animal was it?
A rabbit, maybe?
I don't know if it actually says what animal it was, but there's a little.
Maybe I'm just imagining rabbit.
A little animal comes to this door. Basically, everyone knows that Mr. Smiles is the way he is, and that he's killing people, and that he's untrustworthy. And this little animal wants to see him, and he invites him in. Mr. Smiles says, "Why don't you come in?" And he goes, "Well, you're probably going to kill me." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're going to." But he does it anyway. He's like, why are you doing this? And he said, and the last line of the book is, because I need to know how it feels. And I think obviously here this animal represents a psychiatrist. He knows he shouldn't go into the house. He knows he shouldn't go into Joker's mind, but he's going to do it anyway because he needs to try and understand it. But it's just going to lead to, you know, madness and or death. So
yeah, it's great.
So that's the story. Let's say art is fantastic. Maybe the highlight, and I think the writing's solid actually.
It is. I think my only problem with I say problem is I don't think it utilizes the widescreen format as much as maybe it could have done. I mean, it doesn't do anything particularly out of the standard wheelhouse with it that some of the other widescrreen books have done.
I suppose that's
but
fair.
I mean, it looks great.
I think honestly the biggest thing going against this is that it's out at the same time as Harleen, and I don't even just mean the same week. I just mean in general. There's some overlapping themes, and it's like
I will say it does feel different though in that Harley. Yes, well, it's also about okay, Harley Quinn succumbing to the Joker, and this guy probably succumbing to the Joker, and they're both these therapists and psychologists. I get that there's all this similarity, but it feels done in a very different angle to it. Harley, we'll
Well,
talk
no,
about
it
more
does,
of
but
that.
it doesn't really matter though. The point is I can't help but think about it when I'm reading this.
No, that's true.
So
That's true.
the problem of it just sort of, and it's weird to say this, but it is paling a little bit in comparison, just because Harleen's so freaking good. But
this is a really solid book, and it's really good. It's just it isn't as good as Harleen.
honestly, any
if this had come out 3 months ago, we'd be praising the hell out of this.
No, that's the thing. It's fantastic. I think if this wasn't out around the same time as Harleen, I think I'd be praising this. I think it would maybe be getting Book of the Week. It's just kind of weird that like it might not, because Harleen exists and it's out the same week. So,
Yep.
I think if I'm going to rate it, like I do think it gets an 8.5 at least.
I'm tempted to give it the 9. I think I'll give it the 9 just because it's creepy as shit as well. Especially with the art.
It's unsettling in a different kind of way, which is nice.
Yeah.
But Matt gave us a 7.5. Art is fantastic, but I'm not sure on the story. The atmosphere is great, but with Harleen doing roughly the same thing, I don't know if that creative team justifies it alone.
I think one thing I would like to say just on the difference here is Harleen is how many issues was that again? It's quite a few, isn't it?
No?
Is that only 3? Okay, no, it's 3 issues, but they're huge issues, right?
Yes.
This is only 3 issues as well, and it's half the length that Harleen is in the page count. So it's a lot shorter story. So I wonder if that'll feel a lot tighter at the end, maybe paced completely, because it'll be paced very differently.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think Color Smell was very good. It's just kind of weird that we have similar things. I almost wish they'd held it back and just released it after Harleen was done.
Don't we have another one starting soon? The Cami Garcia one? Was that a Joker? Criminal Sanity? Oh no, that already started. It's fine.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so many of these Black Label prestige books are on the same, Joker and Harley, and I mean, part of that's probably because the movie came out and they were like, oh, we want it around that. But
yeah,
it's kind of weird.
Probably.